Hello and welcome. Tonight, members of Academic Staff Union of Universities appear before National Industrial Court of Nigeria in a suit filed against them by the federal government. SERAP seeks to be joined as interested party. Labour Party exudes confidence in its presidential candidate's ability to fix Nigeria, even as president of the Nigeria Labour Congress vows full support for Mr. Peter Obi. 9 residents of Maryland rescued from a sinking house after several hours of rainfall in Lagos. 2 children die as school fence collapses elsewhere in the state. On business news tonight, federal government announces plan to increase cashew nut production to 500,000 metric tons annually from the current 260,000 metric tons.
On sports news tonight, Chelsea's home game with Liverpool and Leeds United's trip to Manchester United this weekend have been called off due to policing pressures ahead of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II.
And from Abuja, 3 more Chibok schoolgirls regained their freedom from Boko Haram captivity as army rescues 19 others.
And in international news from London, King Charles III has travelled to Edinburgh, where the Queen is lying at rest at the Palace of Holyrood House.
If you are one of those who thought that the ongoing industrial dispute between the federal government and university lecturers would end soon, you may have to think again. This is because the matter has now shifted to the courts, where the parties will strive to justify their positions in the coming days. For now, however, the National Industrial Court has adjourned the case brought before it by the federal government to September the 16th, 2022. Also, during the proceedings today, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, sought to join the suit as an interested party. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, are appearing before the National Industrial Court of Nigeria in Abuja in response to the suit filed against them by the federal government challenging their industrial action. The federal government wants the court to order ASU and its members to resume work while it continues to engage the union to address their dispute. But counsel to ASU, Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, argues that he was only aware of the efforts by lawyers to file court papers in the suit on Monday. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has sought to join the suit. Counsel to SERAP, Mr. Ebun Olu Adegorua, SAN, explains that his client's request to join in the matter is based on the need to forestall the duplicity of outcomes concerning the industrial disputes. However, counsel to the federal government, Mr. Tijani Ghazali, SAN, opposes SERAP's application to consolidate the suit as he argues that SERAP's application is premature. Consequently, Justice Polycarp Haman ruled that the suit is not ripe for consolidation by SERAP and adjourned the matter to Friday, September 16, 2022. Speaking to journalists outside the courtroom, Mr. Falana berates the federal government for going to the court, just as the counsel to SERAP, Mr. Adegorua, SAN, urges the government to respect the agreement it reached with the striking lecturers.
We have no business coming here, because the matter ought to have been resolved by now. And the government has just set up another committee of 14 members. That was done last week. So we're expecting their report. When we're just suddenly told that the government had rushed to the court. I hope it's not a reaction to the suit by SERAP.
If you willingly enter into agreements, and then for one reason or the other, one party to that agreement is not willing to abide by it and is trying to use force. And that's why it's important that we believe that the court will intervene to ensure that that agreement remains enforceable.
However, the counsel to the federal government, Tijani Ghazali, SAN, says ASU cannot dictate to the government how the salaries of its members should be paid.
One of their major issues is the issue of payment through either IPPIS or UTAS. We are saying that that cannot be dictated to government.
After several back and forth with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, the federal government has decided to sue the union. And the bone of contention is with regards to the agreement reached between the union and the federal government in 2009, which was revisited in 2019 and 2020, respectively. For now, it appears the ASU strike is far from ending. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Away from legal matters to politics, human rights lawyer Mr. Femi Falana is urging the Labour Party to extend its reach to the grassroots and win the hearts of Nigerians ahead of next year's elections. The senior advocate of Nigeria, who was speaking at the Labour Party leadership retreat in Abuja, said Nigeria is being held hostage by oil thieves whom he says are known and enabled by people within the government. A situation, he says, calls for change. Also speaking at the event, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, says the current federal government lacks the political will to resolve the nation's challenges. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, has more.
The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Labour Party have their members spread across this room to rub minds and put together a blueprint to rescue Nigeria. In his welcome address, the national chairman of the party, Mr. Julius Abure, did not shy away from speaking on the state of the nation.
Insecurity has ravaged the country. There is hunger, there is poverty, there is unemployment. The country is not working. Students are at home, no school. This is the situation we find ourselves. And it is very clear to us that it cannot be business as usual come 2023.
Niger State is 76,300 square kilometers of land, fertile land. They can't feed themselves, they can't feed Nigeria, they can't export anything. Netherlands, minus water is 33,000 square kilometers of land. Total agricultural export last year, $120 billion.
The president of the NLC, Mr. Ayuba Waba, and human rights lawyer Femi Falana believe that the nation is in a mess while Nigerians are breaking boundaries abroad.
To remind us of the enormous task of what we need to do and to promote candidates of the Labour Party, but also go to the field. Particularly our youth, I'm so happy that the youth have aligned themselves with the structures and the struggle. I had to branch to Alabama to visit the University of Alabama. I was told that 70% of the well of Alabama was actually aligned to the university. And I went there to see a professor in Nigeria. He said the best 10 are actually Nigerians. So what is going wrong with us is about harnessing our resources, both human and material, to be able to add value and make Nigerian citizens better.
Let me challenge the leaders of the Labour Party. I beg you. You ain't going to get power in Nigeria by adopting the methods of the bourgeoisie. If you want to mobilize the Nigerian people, you must go beyond visiting those who destroy Nigeria. From today, your candidates must go to the offices of all the trade unions in Nigeria. The offices of women organizations, youth organizations, because the people you are competing with, please know this, have acquired a bet illegally unbelievable sums of money. And what do they want to do? They want to bribe voters because they have weaponized poverty. We are also told, and Nigeria is the only country that comes out where the government will say, we are losing $700 million every day because of oil theft. Who are the oil thieves? They know them. Oil theft, oil smuggling, all have official backing. Again, Nigeria is the only oil producing country that has not acquired the meter.
flying the flag of the party talk about their chances, despite divergent views that the party has no structure.
Such that they are able to go back to their villages, to their polling units, and convince 5 to 10 people to vote for the party, and then we can win. That is the only way we win.
As campaigns officially begin later this month, the party promises to mobilize its members and members of the labor unions across the country to work for the success of Mr. Peter Obi during the presidential elections in 2023. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Staying with the 2023 general elections, the International Republican Institute is pledging its support for all female candidates contesting various positions next year. Addressing female candidates of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja, the country director of the institute, Mr. Santiago Stalker, emphasized the need for women to be empowered to enable them achieve their political ambition.
We're working together to level the playing field, to empower female candidates here in Nigeria to fully participate in the electoral process. So in our view, Nigeria is at a critical moment in history. We have the first open seat election since 2007. And we want to empower female candidates to have the skills and the tools to equally participate. So we're focused today on and tomorrow on skills including how to develop smart campaign strategies, fundraising, interactions with the media, how to deal with conflict and negotiations, and how to better serve the constituents that these candidates are hoping to represent. Our focus right now is on this training. So we've conducted trainings with all the major parties, with PDP, with NNPP, with Labor, today with APC. So our focus right now is on empowering female candidates to have the skills they need to participate and to be successful in their campaigns.
And as the permutations continue ahead of the 2023 general elections, INEC is vowing to remain an unbiased umpire. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated the promise at a program in Abuja to launch the European Union support for democratic governance in Nigeria. Meanwhile, the EU ambassador to Nigeria is appealing to political actors to shun actions that could undermine the country's democracy as political parties prepare for the campaigns later this month.
The European Union ambassador to Nigeria and the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, are among the dignitaries attending this conference to roll out the phase 2 of the EU support for democratic governance in Nigeria in Abuja. The EU SDGM project is one of the tools that the European Union is using to strengthen democratic processes in Nigeria through programs that support electoral reforms and the inclusivity of marginalized groups in Nigeria's electoral system. In her remarks, the EU ambassador to Nigeria underscores the importance of the 2023 general elections as she appeals to political actors to desist from actions that could undermine the country's democracy.
The electoral campaign will start in 2 weeks. As a friend of Nigeria, we would like to see peaceful and issues-based campaigns, and we encourage all stakeholders to take a firm stance against violence and against hate speech. As the largest democracy in Africa, elections in Nigeria matter. They matter to Nigeria and Nigerians. They also matter for Africa.
The European Union has been a major partner with Nigeria since 1999, and the electoral umpire is promising to continue its partnership with the EU and make the 2023 general elections count.
The Commission will continue to work with the EU, our development partners, and all electoral stakeholders to ensure the sustainability of our electoral reforms. I want to reassure Nigerians that the votes will continue to count.
The panel session reviews some of the successes of the first phase of the EU SDGM project, including its contributions to the inclusivity of marginalized groups in Nigeria's electoral process.
The EU SDGM has given voice to the voiceless and given hope to the hopeless. Without this project, been achieved.
So far, the European Union has committed over 150 million euros to a program targeted at strengthening democratic governance and inclusivity in Nigeria. And the phase 2 of the project hopes to rally citizen support for the next general elections.
For me, it's been a truly humbling experience.
In part 2, after the break, President of the Court of Appeal calls for the release of funds for the establishment of election petition tribunals ahead of the general elections next year. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities appeared before National Industrial Court of Nigeria in a suit filed against them by the federal government. SERAP seeks to be joined as an interested party. Labour Party exudes confidence in its presidential candidate's ability to fix Nigeria, even as President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, vows full support for Peter Obi. 9 residents of Maryland rescued from a sinking house after several hours of rainfall in Lagos. 2 children die as school fence collapses elsewhere in the state. And King Charles III and siblings performed traditional vigil of the princes around coffin of their late mother, Queen Elizabeth, at St. Giles's Cathedral. In preparation for the legal battles after the 2023 general elections, the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongbam-Mensem, is calling for the release of funds for the establishment of election petition tribunals. The Justice also wants the training of justices that would be sitting on the tribunals to commence now. She was speaking at the opening of the Appellate Court's new legal year in Abuja.
Justices of the Appeal Court, led by the President, Justice Monica Dongbam-Mensem, arrive at the ceremonial court for the 2022-2023 legal year celebration in Abuja. In attendance is the Acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kayode Ariwola, members of the bar and bench, the Attorney General of the Federation, and Minister of Justice, among others.
This function is pivotal to...
According to the Appellate Court, it witnessed a 20% increase in the number of motions filed in the past legal year. The President also calls for an urgent funding of the election petition tribunals across the country for effective function.
Funds to prosecute the 2023 General Election Petition Tribunal are yet to be released. This is becoming worrisome as it may impede plans to constitute the various tribunals and the courts.
Still on the welfare of the judiciary, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association faults the federal government for pauperizing the judiciary, thereby making their jobs difficult.
I observe that an action had to be filed in court to compel government to look into and improve the welfare of judges and justices. It's all the reason why it would be safe to infer that there is a deliberate ploy to emasculate and pauperize the courts and by so doing strangulate the cause of justice in this nation.
However, the executive and legislature refute this claim, stating that improving the remuneration of judicial officers is of great importance, and an upward review of the budget for the judiciary is indicative of the present administration's commitment to ensuring proper funding of the judiciary.
Amidst our revenue challenges as a nation, coupled with various demands for wage increase, one certain assurance I can make to this noble gathering is that the improvement of the remuneration and condition of service of judicial officers is uppermost on the agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari.
There is need to have funding to take care of the election petition tribunals, the appeals tribunals that are going to be set up so that the judicial officers can work in an environment that is convenient and convivial for them to dispense justice.
As the appellate court begins its new legal year, the focal point for most of these justices and members of the bench is the welfare of the judiciary and upholding the tenets of the profession, among others.
This is staying with security. The former Senate Minority Leader, Senator Inaya Baribe, who is calling for a thorough investigation of the attack on Senator Ifeanyi and the motives for the rising attacks. He says coming on the eve of the 2023 general elections. He condemns the gruesome attack by gunmen, describing it as despicable and evil. The senator representing Abia South in a statement says the sad incident, which is one among many others across the country, is a clear indication of total collapse of security. Senator Baribe also says he would not want to read political motives behind the attack, but cautions against such if that is the case, saying no political aspiration is worth any human life. In other stories, 3 more Chibok schoolgirls have been rescued alongside 19 other girls kidnapped by Boko Haram between August and September from different locations within Borno State. The girls from Mata Lawal, Asabe Ali and Jenkai Yamani were rescued with their children, all girls, by the Nigerian army. The Chibok girls who were kidnapped in April 2014 have been in captivity of the Boko Haram for 8 years now, although many of them have either escaped or been rescued.
Falmata Lawal, Asabi Ali and Jinkai Yamani are the latest Chibok schoolgirls to regain their freedom from the camp of Boko Haram insurgents alongside 19 other kidnapped girls in Borno State. Jinkai Yamani, a 24-year-old mother of 3, narrates how she plotted her escape. I came out from the bush around 10 a.m. and I got to the soldiers' checkpoint in Ngoshe at midnight. I didn't know there were soldiers there, but they said they had been watching me. When I got to them, they asked me where I was coming from, and I told them from Gava. Then they asked if there were people following me. I said no. They asked if I'm carrying anything on my body. I said no. Then they asked if I was a Chibok girl. I said no because I was afraid. They asked my origin and I said I'm from Goza. They asked if my mother is still alive in Goza. I said yes. Then they asked me my tribe and I said I'm from Gamargo. So one of the soldiers spoke the dialect, but I could not respond. Then they asked if I grew up in Goza, and I said yes. According to the theater commander, Operation Hadinkai, Major General Christopher Musa, these 3 young ladies are now among the 178 Chibok schoolgirls freed so far out of the 276 captured by the insurgents in April 2014. 98 are yet to be accounted for.
The Chief of Army Staff gave us a directive to ensure that we sustain the activities, the operational activities throughout the theater to achieve the mandate of the theater, and that's what we're doing, and that's what we'll continue to do. There won't be any respite. We're going to move very light to make sure that we make the place untenable for them.
The theater commander asked for more cooperation from Nigerians to win the fight against insurgency.
This operation is a Nigerian operation. Every Nigerian has a part to play. We, conducting our kinetic and the non-kinetic, will have to rely on the locals to also give up because they are within. And for any asymmetric operation to continue, for the insurgents to continue to survive, they need the locals. Because the locals, the communities, that's the water where they swim in. So if the locals are with us, it makes it difficult for them to swim.
He also acknowledged that their fight against terrorism is yielding positive results, making the camp of the terrorists more uncomfortable, resulting in the surrender of some members of the groups and their leaders to Nigerian troops.
Still ahead on the news at 10, federal government announces plans to increase cashew nut production to 500,000 metric tons from 260,000 annually. That's on Business News. To join us again. Welcome back. Well, let's go over to Abuja. Magbe must have her time on the news at 10 tonight.
Certainly, Millicent. Well, this news is not so bright, though. In Delta State, the vice chairman of Isoko North Local Government Area, Mr. Frank Esiwo Ozue, has been kidnapped by gunmen. The State Police Command says Mr. Ozue was forcibly taken away on Sunday at Ogo Town in Ughelli North Local Government Area of the state on his way to Patani. The Delta State Police Command Public Relations Officer, Edafe Bright, who confirmed the incident, says the police are working to rescue the victim. His abductors are said to have left behind the victim's car and phones and are yet to contact the family. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, is urging the court to expedite the trial of persons caught stealing the nation's crude oil to serve as a deterrent to others. Senator Ahmed also commended the security agencies for improving the security situation in the country. He was speaking during a meeting with the heads of security agencies at the National Assembly before they went into a closed-door session.
We have seen remarkable difference in the fight against insecurity in our country by our armed forces and other security agencies. And we are very, very proud of that. We pray that this continues because we now have momentum. Those who have made every effort to steal our oil at an industrial scale, I'm sure some of them may not be that likely to escape. We want to see trials of people who are caught, because when that happens, citizens would know that nobody, no matter how highly that person is, can go scot-free. So I want to appeal to the judiciary to give a special consideration once an oil thief is taken to court, but we must prosecute them.
That's all from Abuja. It's back now to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Magbe. We continue in Lagos, where 9 persons were today rescued after being trapped following the sinking of a story building in Akinwumi Estate, Mende, in the Maryland area of Lagos State. The building began to sink after the rainfall that lasted 4 hours earlier today. The Lagos Territorial Coordinator, National Emergency Management Agency, Ibrahim Fariloye, said the agency's officials were deployed to rescue the victims after receiving a distress call about the emergency. Meanwhile, the landlord of the building, who had earlier escaped, is now in police custody after he returned to the scene. A total of about 66 buildings in Akinwumi, Aruwojobi, and Eboti estates in Alimosho, Koshofe, and Ifelodun and Jeremy local government areas are said to be seriously affected following the flooding from the rainfall, which is also said to have wreaked havoc in some other parts of the state. In another part of Lagos, 2 children have been killed after the fence of a school, Covenant Point Academy, located in the Amukoko area of the state, collapsed on them. The victims, who are said to be 9 and 3 years, were said to be around this school when the fence suddenly collapsed yesterday, killing one of the victims instantly while the other lost consciousness and reportedly died shortly after. The police spokesperson in Lagos State, Benjamin Hundain, told Channels Television that the owner of the school and one other person have been arrested in connection with the unfortunate death. He said both would be transferred to the state CID Panti for discreet investigation and prosecution. According to eyewitness accounts, the building was not well structured. There was no wiring or pillar, which was why it fell easily. And the president has congratulated the governor of Ekiti State, Dr Kayode Fayemi, on his election as president of the Forum of Regions of Africa, FORAF, in his capacity as chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. In a statement released after receiving Governor Fayemi alongside Governors Abdullahi Ganduje and Abdullahi Sule of Kano and Nasarawa states, President Muhammadu Buhari also thanked other countries that queued behind Nigeria. The election held after a conference in Casablanca region, Morocco, at the weekend, which had in attendance governors and participants from 22 African countries. Governor Fayemi says the idea of FORAF is for sub-nationals to become engines of growth to reduce pressure on central governments.
The idea behind the establishment of the forum, sir, is really for sub-nationals to become the engines of growth and the agents of innovation in a way that they can reduce the pressure on the central government. And in many of these countries, policies are set at the central government levels, but implementation really occurs primarily at the state level, just like ours here in Nigeria. And to that extent, many of these states are involved in they have a wide range of mandates on economic development, on social services provision, on structuring relations between rural and urban centers, on climate change, on continental free trade agreement. And so to that extent, the idea is for the Forum of Regions in Africa to be a unifying voice.
The British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Catriona Ling, says Nigeria is a key ally in Africa in several key areas like trade, security, climate change and energy transition. Speaking at a news conference to appreciate President Muhammadu Buhari and the Nigerian government for their support since the demise of Queen Elizabeth II, the High Commissioner says the British government will continue to partner Nigeria to overcome various challenges. She also says she's in consultation with some stakeholders on activities that will hold at the embassy in Nigeria on Monday next week, when the Queen will be buried.
When I did my credentials to her in my last diplomatic assignment, and indeed when I did them again for Nigeria, she mentioned her love of Africa, love of the Commonwealth, and she mentioned her 2 visits to Nigeria. In 1953, I think, was the first where she visited. She was here for 20 days visiting all over the country. And then, of course, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in 2003. King Charles III, the then Prince of Wales, visited Nigeria in November 2018 and met a huge variety of people, from the youth of the country to the traditional leaders. And I've spoken to Prince Charles, as he was then, and now King, with your President Buhari, in January 2020, when your president visited him in Dumfries House in Scotland. So I think we have a good idea of the issues that he's passionate about, and one of them is the environment and climate change. He was well ahead of the curve in identifying the importance of protecting our environment if we want to be able to pass that on to our future generations. So that's one of the areas of the meeting of the minds, actually, between your president and the now King. Because I think Nigeria is Africa. You're the biggest, most important country in Africa. Everything is here. Like everybody else, you know, the Queen, the King, and the various members of the royal family witness the role Nigeria plays on the world stage, with very significant figures in very important places. So Nigeria is watched particularly closely, and I think it was her visit here where she was able to travel so widely, where she was inspired by the amazing spirit of the people of Nigeria.
From diplomacy partnerships to infrastructure in River State, where Governor Nyesom Wike is urging corporate organizations, especially financial institutions, to take advantage of his infrastructure revolution and the provision of smart office complexes to invest in the state. The governor stated this during the commissioning of a remodeled 7-story building in Port Harcourt, the state capital. He said the building and others reconstructed by his administration in parts of the state can provide comfortable accommodation for all kinds of investors.
Before wearing its present look, this was what the former corporate headquarters of the defunct Riv Bank used to look like. But after months of work, it now looks better, and the River State Governor Nyesom Wike is leading other sons and daughters of the state to the official commissioning. The Commissioner for Special Projects gives details of the component of this building, which once housed miscreants.
Other features of the main building. The main building is provided with 3 elevators, 2 units of 800 kg elevator each for commercial visitors, and a 630 kg elevator to service the bank and other staff.
For Governor Nyesom Wike, this building is historical.
I was passing one day, I just told my convoy to stop. And the convoy stopped, I came in here. What I saw was something else. Criminals, armed robbers. And I said, no. If you know the history of this building, you will marvel. Some of our citizens were involved in trying to take away this property from government.
The River State government's plan for the structure is to put it out for sale rather than lease and deploy the proceeds to the development of other areas of the state.
We urge bankers and other financial institutions to come and take it. In fact, let me say this on national television, so anywhere he is, you hear it. Our brother Herbert Wigwe, I told him, come and buy this and make here the regional headquarters of Access Bank. If there's any reversement who is willing, we are willing to sell it to them. I hereby, in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, commission Senator John Azutambata's house.
Located on Aba Road, near the Isaac Borough Park, the edifice has smart features with a basement, ground and 6 upper floors, and a parking lot for over 95 vehicles.
Well, staying in River State, the Governor Nyesom Wike has held a private meeting with the presidential candidate of the Action Alliance, Hamza Al-Mustapha, at his residence in Port Harcourt. Mr. Al-Mustapha was the chief security officer to late General Sani Abacha, who ruled as military head of state between 1993 and 1998. Like in many of the recent visits to Governor Wike, the agenda for the meeting with Al-Mustapha and his team was not made known to journalists. Let's head over for some business news now. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The federal government has announced plans to raise cashew nut production to 500,000 metric tons per annum, up from the current 260,000 metric tons produced annually. At a meeting with journalists in Abuja to mark the commencement of a conference of the African Cashew Alliance, the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Evelyn Ngige, explains that the government plans to also establish 6 cashew processing plants, which is expected to generate over 1 million direct and indirect jobs across the country. The cashew industry currently generates a total of 26 billion naira annually as foreign exchange for the government. The African Development Bank has welcomed 12 new executive directors, including 5 women, for a 3-year term beginning from August the 1st this year. The new board members were appointed following the general election of executive directors by its boards of governors at the AFDB Group's annual meeting held in Accra, Ghana, in May 2022. The president of the AFDB Group, Dr. Adeshino, has welcomed the new representatives, asking them to strengthen the institution's oversight functions. To company news now, the board of EcoBank Transnational Incorporated has appointed Jeremy Awori to succeed its current group chief executive officer, Mr. Ade Ayemi. In a statement released today, the EcoBank's parent company, ETI, said the appointment was made as Mr. Ayemi's will to retire after attaining the age of 60 is in line with its policy. Mr. Jeremy Awori is joining EcoBank Group following a 25-year-long career in the banking industry and almost a decade leading the Absa Bank Kenya PLC as a CEO and managing director. Meanwhile, EcoBank says the relevant effective date for his appointments will be communicated in due course. Now we head to the market where more than 37 billion naira, that's the amount knocked off from the total value of equities listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The second trading week of September has started with sell pressure. Many John Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. Well, undecided at intraday, but bearish at the close of trade. That's the story of the NGX on Monday, the 12th of September, 2022. It's a flip from the sentiment on Friday and a win for the bear. 37 billion naira shaved off the total market value. That's a minus 0.14% from the all share index. And there we see it's still not very close to that 50,000 points that we've been looking forward to. And even the market cap is also looking far off at the 27 trillion naira. A drop in today's activity is obvious in the chart. The volume is the highest hit, more than 70% less than what we had on Friday, while value is more than 40% at 1.17 billion naira. Let's see the sectors now. The sectors, we say banking, which is always leading in most activities, well, from over 1% gain on Friday to about 0.5% loss today. And that's because the Fugas topped the trade, but Fidelity Bank lost 24 kobo, FBN Holding lost 35 kobo, and UBA lost 5 kobo. Still on the counters. Consumer goods, it's gained, and it's thanks to Dangote Sugar with a 5 kobo gain and Honeywell with a 2 kobo gain at the close of trade. It's the first trading day, a negative market breadth, but we still have 4 days, so we will watch and we will report. That's the stock market report. It's back to you.
Thank you for watching Business News Tonight. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Anne. Well-wishers in Edinburgh have begun entering St. Giles' Cathedral to pay their last respects to the Queen. Leading the procession today earlier was King Charles III. Here's Simon Pusey with more on Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. King Charles III is in Edinburgh, where the Queen is lying at rest at the Palace of Holyrood House. The Royal Artillery personnel here welcoming the new King with a gun salute. The King and members of the royal family then followed the Queen's coffin in a procession along the Royal Mile. Thousands of people lining the streets for a glimpse of the hearse and of the new King, before attending a service of remembrance at St. Giles Cathedral. Earlier, King Charles III made his first visit to the Westminster Parliament as monarch.
As I stand before you today,
speaking to the 900 MPs and peers, he gave his thanks for their words and support and said he would follow his late mother's selfless duty.
My lords and members of the House of Commons, We gather today in remembrance of the remarkable span of the Queen's dedicated service to her nations and peoples. While very young, Her late Majesty pledged herself to serve her country and her people, and to maintain the precious principles of constitutional government which lie at the heart of our nation. This vow she kept with unsurpassed devotion. She set an example of selfless duty, which, with God's help and your counsels, I am resolved faithfully to follow.
The Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry, has paid tribute to his grandmother, the Queen, thanking her for her commitment to service, sound advice and infectious smile. It's after he and his wife Meghan and brother William and his wife Kate met mourners in Windsor over the weekend. In the statement posted on the couple's website, he said, "Granny, while this final parting brings us great sadness, I am forever grateful for all of our first meetings, from my earliest childhood memories with you, to meeting you for the first time as my Commander-in-Chief, to the first moment you met my darling wife and hugged your beloved great-grandchildren. I cherish these times shared with you and the many other special moments in between." And more tributes have been paid to the Queen from around the world. Hundreds of people in Hong Kong queuing to send condolence messages. In India, official buildings flew their flags at half-mast.
From here in Israel, we send our deepest condolences to the people of the United Kingdom.
Israeli Prime Minister Yair Lapid said the British monarch was a model of decency, stability and an icon around the world. Meanwhile, the tallest building in the world, Dubai's Burj Khalifa, which is one of the main tourist attractions in the city, was lit up with an image of Queen Elizabeth and a British flag on Sunday. In other news, President Volodymyr Zelensky has said Russia aims to deprive people of light and heat by causing power cuts across eastern Ukraine in revenge for a Ukrainian counter-offensive. Blackouts reportedly affected millions of people in the eastern Kharkiv and Donetsk regions. Here, trains grinding to a halt as Kharkiv underground lost power. Russian missile attacks raining down on the area after Ukraine said it had retaken over 3,000 square kilometers in an eastern counter-offensive. Zimbabwe's opposition Citizens Coalition for Change Party has said that its leader, Nelson Chamisa, has escaped an assassination attempt after his convoy came under a bomb attack. In a statement, the CCC said Mr. Chamisa's convoy was attacked with explosives as it approached the venue of a rally. It said the venue was also petrol-bombed on Saturday by unknown people. The party blamed what they called ruling ZANU-PF thugs for the attacks. There's been no immediate reaction from the government. And finally, the Mid-Autumn Festival is being celebrated in China with various traditional activities taking place across the country. A series of fireworks shows were performed in China's Jiangsu province. The Mid-Autumn Festival falls each year on the 15th day of the 8th month in China's lunar calendar. On that day of family reunion, people get together with families to eat mooncakes, appreciate the full moon and enjoy themed activities. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Super Eagles and Real Sociedad forward Sadiq Umar has been ruled out for the rest of the season after sustaining an anterior cruciate ligament injury against Getafe on Sunday in the La Liga. He will start physiotherapy treatment and will undergo surgical treatment, and this could see him sidelined for the rest of the season. Liverpool's visit to Chelsea and Man United's clash with Leeds on Sunday have been postponed due to policing pressures ahead of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. The 7 Premier League games will go ahead this weekend, with Brighton's match against Crystal Palace having previously been postponed due to a planned rail strike. And that's sports news.
And the main news again. Members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities today appeared before the National Industrial Court in respect to a suit filed against them by the federal government as SERAP failed in its quest to be joined as an interested party. That's news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka.